Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Trade Made Easy right here on YouTube. I'm certainly glad that you found yourself here. Today, I'm going to be marking up EJ, and I actually was doing that. And I have to remember when I do my markups, I want to actually record it so that I can knock two birds out with one stone, teach you guys, show you how I see the market, and hopefully you can gather some insight from what I'm doing to help you in your trading journey, right? Now, market structure, market structure, market structure. That's where it all begins. And though I do use a very, very fantastic indicator system, the simplicity trading system, it's very, very important that we understand market structure. It's very, very important that we understand how to trade without indicators. Though I am a advocate for this particular indicator system because it's simple, it's easy, it's very accurate. And if you're a beginner, this is definitely the system that you want because it truly does all the heavy lifting for you. However, you do want to dedicate your time to learning market structure. So I'm bringing that element to the whole deal. So EJ, let's get to it. All right, so overall, EJ is in a bearish move. Overall is bearish. Now, I'm going to be flipping back and forth between the trading view and our MetaTrader 4, where the system is. So on MetaTrader 4, this is our EJ, right? And this is the daily. And our big arrow here tells us that it is a overall bearish trend. It's an overall bearish trend. And so that's one of the ways that the system does the heavy lifting for you, because if you do not know how to identify a trend, this system is great, right? It takes all the guesswork out, but you definitely want to learn how to do that, right? Basically higher highs, higher lows, lower highs, lower lows, and I'll do another video on that. So moving on, is in a bearish trend. So I dropped down to my 4 hour and I began marking up on the 4 hour. Now, because it's a bearish trend, me personally, I'm looking at sales. Because it's a bearish trend on the daily, I'm looking at sales. Now, one of the benefits to our system is that each time frame will give you the direction, the trend for that time frame, what's actually happening. But you never want to lose sight of the overall trend. And that's one of the potential pitfalls with the system, because you're looking at the arrows, you're looking at where price is in the zones, but you don't really understand what the big picture is, what the backstory is, right? And so we definitely need to know the backstory. Now, so overall, I'm looking for a sale. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking at that structure, and I'm going to start marking that up. And that's what I did. So I looked at the floor. Where's the low? That's the question. Where is the low? Where's the lowest point relative to current price did price go? And of course, right here, right? And then of course, we have that area right here, but then we have wick action in the zone. Now, one thing to remember is that price moves in zones. It moves in area. It moves in ranges, right? There isn't an exact. And so you always want to, mark out the zone, the area. And that's what I did here. That was the low. And then, of course, we want to look for trends, right? So this was my support level right here. This is the floor. This is the floor. And then where is the ceiling? Where's the ceiling? Now, here's the thing. A couple of things going on here. Of course, we can identify this area as a ceiling, right? We can do that. However, what I'm looking for are patterns as well. Now, I do see a pattern. I see a double top right here, okay, where price came up, reacted, came up, reacted. I also see where price came in this area. It did break, but not by much, and then it pushed it right back down. And so I'm looking at this area here, and you want to, definitely try to get it wick to wick. And so just move that up a little bit. And so this is definitely an area that I will be most interested in. It's a key area. And then, of course, when you look at this area here, you see it respecting the same area, the same price point, right, in this area here. Now, it did break out. It did break out. So I drew my trend line, right? I drew my trend line because this is all you're looking for with market structure. Market structure consists of patterns. It consists of support resistance. It consists of trend lines, channels, different things like that. And so I identified a bullish trend going up, right? So I drew my trend line going up. Why? Because price didn't break it. Price didn't break it. Price didn't break it. Until when? Until here. Now that price broke structure, now we're looking for what? For price to come rally right back up to this area here, this resistance area here. Now, because I'm looking for a sale, my expectation is that it's going to pull up to this resistance area and then rally back down. Rally where? Well, we're going to rally right in here before we have another reaction, of course. Right in here, clearly, that's an area, right? Right in this area here, right around in this area here, we're going to push down. And then, of course, we're going to pull back up and then react back down to this floor. So this is the ultimate level I'm expecting price to get to. Now, this is on the daily, so of course, this is not going to happen in a few hours, right? It's going to take a little time. But that's what my expectation is for EJ, for it to get down to this area here before the trend potentially will change back into a bullish move, right? So right now we're still bearish. So that's my expectation. What did I do? I identified the structure by looking for the low that price went. Okay, so I identified my ceiling. And then I identified my floor. Then I identified my ceiling, which is right here. But I also identified patterns, right? You got to look for these patterns as well because they tell a story, a big story. And so I identified my pattern here. What pattern is this? This is a double top, right? It's a double top. A double top is a bearish pattern. It's a bearish pattern. We had some reaction over here as well. And then we had some reaction to the same key area right here. So that is a definite key area that I want to take a look at. We touch here too and push back up. And then what did it do? It broke. It broke the trend line. It broke the trend line. Now, once it breaks the trend line, it broke structure, meaning now it's going to do something different. That's what that means. Anytime price breaks structure, what price is telling us is that I want to do something different. I want to go in a different direction. Now, because it goes into a different direction does not mean that the trend is actually changing. It could, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. That's why you want to identify, use your support and resistance lines, use your trend line so that you can clearly see what price is doing. So with that being said, when it broke structure, that told me price wants to go in a different direction. And that's what's happening right now. So what I'm looking at is that price is going to come back up to structure because it always respects it, right? So it's gonna go back up to structure. And at this point, because I'm looking for a sale, I'm looking for it to come up to the structure and then rally back down. Why do I expect for it to rally back down? Because when I look left at this key area, I see where price reacted in the same manner. And here's the other thing. I always say, the higher the time frame, the stronger the structure, right? So this is the 4-hour time frame. I expect that, a couple of visits to this area before it breaks it and actually rallies. So that is my expectation. That's my expectation. Now, so from this area here, this dashed area, which is current price, now we're going to look for some confluence. Sorry about that. That always happens. Okay, we're going to look for some confluence. Okay, so from this area, current price, to that key area, the blue resistance line is roughly about 32 pips, right? Roughly about 32 pips. So now what I want to do is I want to go, Well, let's go to the daily on EJ on this chart first. So we're looking at about 32 pips, right? Okay, so that's this area right here, this blue line right there. And this is where current price is. So from the daily chart, where current price is on the daily to this blue line is roughly about, I want to try 31 pips, right? So roughly about the same, okay? So what does that mean? What does that mean? What that means is on the daily, right now, on the daily, my expectation is that it's going to pull back up. It's going to pull back up to this resistance area. Now, it's not just because it's there, there's a reason, and that goes back to structure. This line on the daily, look at how often it touched, right? How often did it respect that area? So when price came down here, pushed back up, right? Touch that area, hit that key zone, and then what? Drop back down. Came back up, hit that key zone, then what? Drop back down before it broke through, And let's look at this area right in here. Well, actually, let's look at this area right in here where price came up, it wicked above it, pushed back down. Then it came back, visited it again, went right to the line and did what? Push back down. Then it broke through, retested. Now support became resistance right in here and did what? Pushed back up. And then it played around close in the area until when? Until it broke. And then it retested again and did what? Push back down. That's too much activity in one price area. Too much. You cannot ignore that. You cannot. And it's on the daily, right? So that is why I expect for price to push back up into this range again, right? And now once it does that, then I'm expecting for it to rally back down to where? To those other key areas I identified. Now, this is the floor. This is the ultimate area, right? I'm expecting price to get to this point right here, and then we'll reassess. It may begin a new trend. It may continue, but at that time we'll reassess because again, this is the daily, and from where price is currently to the bottom floor is roughly about 133, 34 pips. So we do have time, right? We have time to reassess. So that's on the daily. And then let's look at the 2 hour. Let's look at the 2 hour. We already saw the 4 hour, right? Let's look at the 2 hour. All right, so we have our high area, and then we have our low area right over in here, right? We have this trend line. Price still respected the trend line, right? Didn't come close. It hit the trend right here, and then what? It broke through. Now, once it breaks through, what I'm looking for it to do is to retest this area. Retest this area to confirm the continuation of that bearish move. That's what the retest does. It confirms the continuation of the trend, more or less. And as I mentioned before, why this particular area? Because we had a lot of action going on this line. We have a pattern here as well. We have a double top, which is a bearish pattern. Activities going on here, right? So that's structure. When you're looking at structure, you're looking at support and resistance. You're looking at trend lines. You're looking at patterns. And you want to be able to identify those patterns. Head and shoulder patterns, M's and W patterns, double tops, double bottom patterns, channels, descending channels, ascending channels, patterns, right? Flag patterns, all of those things are structure, and you want to be able to identify. And when you identify it, what you're actually looking for is how many times did price react in that area. So if I have a double top, for instance, I know that that's a bearish pattern. So I'm looking for price to do what? To push down. And it did. It pushed down and it bounced right off this trend line. See, this is how you control price. This is how, well, I don't want to say control price because we can't do that, but this is how you contain it, right? This is how you trap it in a sense so that you can see what it's doing and what is it communicating to us as to what it wants to do. So that is on, that's naked charting, no indicators. We just using our support resistance, and that's it, right? Our trend lines. Now, let's go to our MetaTrader 4 so that you can see how it all works together, right? It all works together. So this is the daily. I know this is a mess. I'm not even going to really be on here. We already identified this is a bearish trend. We already did that, right? So let's go to our 4 hour. And see, this is what you have to be able to decipher. So on the 4 hour, we are bullish on the 4 hour, right? We're bullish on the trend is bullish on the 4 hour. So what should that tell you immediately? That on the 4 hour is in a what? A correction. It's in a correction on the 4 hour. Now, is that is surprise? No, because we're looking for a correction, right? Remember, we're looking for a correction because we're looking for price to rally back up to this area right here. So we're looking for a correction, and it coincides perfectly. The system is telling us exactly what we're looking for. It's a bullish trend, right? And we're looking for a correction on the 4 hour, and that's what it is appearing to do. So we're right on time. Everything is looking good. Everything is coinciding together. Now on the 4 hour, because remember we was looking at about 32 pips, right? So about 32 pips. Let's go up about 32 pips. And actually, should have been at the bottom where it opened, 32 pips. So roughly around in this area here, right? Roughly around in this area here is what we are looking for price to come to, right around in this area here, right? So that's support 2. So somewhere around in there, that's support 2, maybe slightly above, but basically it's a range. Now, what I want you to look at though, look, remember what we saw, that pattern, right? Double top, boom, drop down, right? So it's the same thing. This is no difference. The same thing, it's just on MT4, but you can see why we have our line here, and you can see why we want price to reach this area. And once it reaches that area, I'm expecting for price to drop, which would be in alignment with what? The daily, the trend on the daily. There's something else I want to show you. So let's go back here real quick. I want to show you this. It all works together. It really, really does. It all works together. I hope that you all are getting something out of this. Try not to go fast, but just can't spend too much time on YouTube, because it will start to that's all our training stuff. It will start to get a little confusing. I don't want to do that. Alrighty, so we said that from the current price right here to the floor is roughly what? Oops, roughly 141 pips, right? Or roughly 141 pips. Okay, cool, no problem. Now let's go back to our MetaTrader 4 where our trading system is. Let's go back to the daily. Okay, go back to the daily. Okay, so right here, current price, right? And we're looking for price to come into our demand zone, right? And once it gets into the demand zone, I'm expecting a bullish trend to begin, or it could continue. We just have to wait and see. But from this point, we definitely expecting price to rally back down into the demand zone, and it's getting close to it, right? So from the close, the base of this candle to this area right here is what? 140 pips, right at the top of the bottom. Basically the same pip count that we saw on TradingView, the same exact thing. This is the ceiling. This is why the system is so It's just so good because it's very accurate to current price. It's very accurate. And like I said, it does all the work for you. Now you can say, hey, okay, I'm looking for price is in a continuation, right? Because the continuation is in the same direction of the trend. So it's trending down. We know that before it can become a bullish trend can form, it has to come into this area before that happens. Now, listen, it can rally back up. We're not controlling price. I'm not predicting, I don't know. I'm just reading what price is saying to me based on market structure, right? The structure can change. It can, right? So I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not, making any suggestions that you do this or you do that. I'm just sharing with you my insight, how I see the market based on what price is telling me. So the key is to learn and understand what price is saying, and that's what I bring to the table. So the links is in the description for one-on-one sessions. But first, get the system. The link is in the description for that as well. Get the system so that you can trade easy, right? And we'll work together so that you can learn all the background stuff. But you don't have to forfeit making your money while you're doing that. So get the system, guys. Get the system. All right. So is in a continuation. I expect for it to continue down. And this is the ceiling that we've already identified. That is the reason why I am saying when price gets back to this area right here to retest, I'm expecting a retest and then a drop. That's what I'm expecting, a retest and a drop. Why? Because we have a double top here, and that's a bearish move. I'm expecting for it to drop, just like it did here. Just like it did here. The market repeats itself. It repeats itself. It repeats the patterns. It does, right? And so that's what I'm expecting to happen here. So on, let's go back here. We're wrapping up now. I really love TradingView to do my markups. It's just a little more user-friendly, a little more cleaner and that kind of thing. And then I can even go to the daily, the 2 hour on here. Can't do that on MetaTrader. Right, okay. So that's what we have right here on EJ. That is my analysis on EJ. Trend was respected until it broke. Once it breaks structure, it's telling me that it wants to do something different. What does it want to do? If it broke to the downside and it wants to do something different, then that means it must want to go back up. We want it to do that, right? Because we want it to get back to this key area right here. Once it gets back to this key area, I'm expecting for it to drop. Drop where? Drop to the next area of resistance or support, I should say, which is here. Retest and then drop again. Where? To this area right here. Now, when we had this double top over here, once we had the double top was formed, where did it go? It dropped. It bypassed this area. It could possibly do the same thing here, right? But I can't ignore that there was some consolidation going on. I can't ignore that. So I am expecting to have some type of reaction before it rallies down to this floor. So that's what I'm doing. I am going to put in a sell limit right here, right at this area. I'm gonna put a sell limit here. And once price rallies back up, pulls me into the trade, and then pulls me down. That is my expectation that that's what's going to happen. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to put my sell limit at a 0.01, because that way I don't have to be glued to this computer just in case price does something completely opposite of what my analysis is. If it does at a 0.01, it's no problem. Sometimes too, price, because again, it's not exact, it's a range, it's an area. So price could rally up to this point right here, right? It could do that. And if I have a 0.01, it really doesn't bother me. If it does, I'll be in a little bit of drawdown, right? So these are things that, because if you're in a trade and your trade goes in the opposite direction and you're having heart palpitations and you're stressing out and you're sweating bullets, your lot size is too large. So don't do that to yourself, right? Because you can always drop another position at the lot size you desire, right? So that is roughly about 23 pips on a 10-cent lot. That's only $2 and change. Come on, we can do that, right? So it's possible. It may rally up to this area right here and before it drops back down. So that is the reason why if you do a limit order, you want to just make it a 0.01. That way you don't have to stress about it. And then once it breaks, come back and start rallying in your direction. Guess what? Drop another position at $3, $4, $5, $10, whatever your account balance can handle, right? Don't over leverage. Don't over leverage. So that is it. That is it. If you got some value out of the EJ market structure breakdown, please give me some likes on here. Any comments you have, I'll be happy to answer that. But most importantly, subscribe to the channel so that you can get additional breakdowns. And of course, it is, what is it? It's October 13th. And you can see that right here, right? Bam, October 13th at 3 o'clock. I'm on a 2-hour time frame here. But yeah, so follow it, see what happens. And, you know, let's go. So I'll see you all on the next video. Bye-bye.